Hello, everyone. This is ACDC. This is
Hi guys,
Araceli.
and Colette.
Yeah, transition financial specialist. And I'm here with Colette. So besides being a transition financial specialist, I'm also a real estate investor. And that's why we created this channel. Colette, can you let us know who you are?
Hi everybody, my name is Colette Rabba. I'm a residential real estate broker in the GTA. I sell everywhere. Oh my gosh, actually I was in Richmond Hill yesterday, so that was exciting. I don't usually go up that far north, but I was, and I can sell anywhere from in my areas like Hamilton, even I don't like to go too west, but even as far as I've sold houses in, oh my gosh, where was that? I don't even remember now. Pickering, past Pickering. So, you know, GTA,
far, yeah.
Whatever people need, if I'm not the expert in the area, I can also refer them to someone too that's, you know, a little bit further out that I don't service. So welcome everybody. Today we've had a little bit of an issue with Facebook Live, so we're not actually live, but we are going to post it after. And today's episode is about
the big five, what a good house looks like. So there's 5 things that you really need to look for to see if a house is something that you really want to purchase. So Colette, get us started with that.
Well, the first thing that people always say to me is, what's a good house? You know, I want a good house. I want to buy a good house.
Everybody
or, you know,
does.
I want to buy a good investment property. And we're like, okay, great. So what does that mean to you? It might mean something different to you because some people, they want a pool, or they want a nice garden, or they want, you know, certain size rooms. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the bones of the house, like what really makes a good house. And it's also not even about the age of the house necessarily, because it's about the bones, the structure, but also what the components of a house, what they make, you know, what a house is made up of, which includes, so first, and in no particular order, not one is more important than the other, but it's always nice to have these things really either modernized or upgraded if it is an older house, repaired or in good working order, things like that. So do you want me to tell you the whole 5, or should I just do one and
just
one and
do
one? Okay, all right. I'm also going to try and show my screen because you know, you guys want to see what a good thing looks like versus a bad thing. Then we can talk about that. So the first thing for me, visually, I'm not an inspector too. Araceli's not an inspector.
Yeah, no.
We can only go by our expertise and our you know, the thousands of houses that we've both seen. And when we look at house, we know, we kind of know just by visually looking at it, what's going on, right? And also you can always ask for more information too.
That's right. If you're not sure, always ask an expert. But if you see something that doesn't look right to you, it's probably not right. So
right, yeah, there's a lot of red flags. There's a lot of signs to pay attention to. So the first thing that that we always look at is the roof, because the roof keeps the water away from the inside. So you really, water is one of the most damaging, if not the most damaging thing to a house. Do you agree?
that's correct. And so the one thing, sometimes, you know, the building is really high, so you really can't see it.
Right.
You can see the side, which it'll give you a good indication of what it's like. But if you have access to the top floor of the attic, if there is an attic in this house, go into it and you will see it from the inside, what is going on. Sometimes you will see water dripping from the walls. There would be some kind of indication that the roof is leaking. So
this is, I don't know if you guys can see my screen, but this is what a knot of a great roof looks like, an example.
I don't see it yet.
Oh, okay. Hold on a second. Let me go back. I thought I'm sharing my screen. So let me just double check if I'm sharing my screen. Here, let's see. Share. How's that? You see that?
Oh, okay. So I can see right away. So if you see the shingles are already starting to lift off.
Right.
So you can see that patch right there.
So,
the wear and tear is very clear.
Right, and it's kind of funny because if you can see that line above in the left, so it almost seems like the top part was either replaced or there's something damaging the roof, like a tree or branches or things falling on the roof or birds. But this seems quite old, and this is in desperate need of replacement. The other thing too that we can't see, but an inspector can see, is how many layers of shingles there are. Yep. So what happens, I believe it's 3, that if you have an older house that instead of removing the shingles, if they're still okay to put the second layer or the third layer on top of it, because your house can withstand the weight. And in theory, the more layers on it, the more protection. So, you know, I've had houses where there's already been 3 layers and we've had to remove all of it.
Yeah, you definitely do, yes.
You know, that's just part of it. So typically in North America, this is asphalt this is an asphalt shingle. And there's different styles and different colors, and there's lots of different kinds of shingles too that you can see. But as long as they're in good shape, that's really what you want to see. You want a nice smooth, here, let me see if I can find a picture of a nice one, of a nice roof. Let's see, there you go. So that's really what you want to look at. Or you want to see.
Oh, it's the same one.
Oh, okay. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can. I don't know why it's not sharing. Oh, there it is. Okay, I have to go turn on each different.
Oh, there you go. That's
so
a nice one.
The other thing that's very important about a roof is, see at the top, those are called vents, and venting for the attic is very, very important too, to make sure that your heat in the house gets recycled and it gets it moves and it goes out. So
older homes do not have this, so it might be a good idea or a good investment if you buy a property that is older, that if you're replacing the roof or repairing it, that you may want to put the vents on.
Exactly. So that's roofing, and we don't want to go into too much detail, but you know, I love talking about houses, and Araceli does too. So we can always.
Your picture looks kind of weird right now, kind of halfway in and out.
Oh, okay. Let me see what's going on. Okay, I'm gonna switch it anyway because number 2.
What is number 2?
So number 2 is furnace. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So furnaces are very interesting because they're expensive. They're not interesting at all. They're kind of boring, but they're very vital to the house. So, you know, when we're talking about, this is not a structural thing, but this is something that you really, really need in your house, because you do in Canada. We like to have a little heat maybe in our house.
During the winter time, preferably.
During the winter, yes. So this is a typical forced air gas furnace, and you know, there's lots of things coming on and off of it. So you can see there's the venting to actually blow the air out. There's also a return. That white thing at the top is where the air comes in. You need to make sure that the furnace has air around it. Typically a furnace will last, and this is the funny thing, when you talk to HVAC guys, they say, so my house is a 10-year-old house, and I was shocked when my HVAC guy said, well, furnace is, you know, that's about the age of your furnace. And I said, what? He goes, yeah, these days, you're lucky if you get 10 years out of your furnace. And I was shocked, but, you know, I pray to the gods, please, not now, you know, sort of thing. So there have been issues with my furnace, you know, personally speaking, but this is the thing. An inspector also will come in, and I don't insist. It's really up to the homeowner to pick a inspector or not. But I really, really recommend getting an inspector when you've bought any kind of house. If you are a contractor yourself and you have your friends come in and they can do the inspection for you, you know, that's something that's great. But there are lots of things that, you know, somebody like me, I don't know. We should have had an inspector on. I was just thinking about that today.
Yeah, we're going to do that next time. But as an investor, you know, sometimes you really can tell right away the condition just because of the way it is. Sometimes we've seen furnaces that have water marks. So that means that there's been a flood in the basement.
Right.
So that is another thing that to look for. to see if
Right.
there's signs of rusting. I have seen, and actually in the house that I have that I just bought in my duplex, it has humongous, like a double, almost triple the size of what you can see here. It's an older furnace, but it's never going to go away. It's never going to turn
Actually, you know
off, right?
what? That's a very, I'm glad we're talking about that, because some of my buyers, they say, okay, you know what, the furnace isn't great. You know, I want to replace it right away. And I go, no, 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 no. You
No.
just hold off. Like, you know, if it's working and it's good, the only thing I would do, if it is working, but it's not energy efficient, okay, then I would say,
Yeah.
you know,
So this one here, definitely the one that I have there, is probably 50 years old. It's
yeah.
working great.
Is it
However, the only thing that I don't like about it is that it's really big. It's humongous. It's like 3 times as big
right,
as what you can see or what you saw on the screen.
right.
And it also is vented through the roof, which it now has I have a big brick
Chimney?
column chimney
Oh,
that goes all the way up the roof.
in the middle of the house?
Exactly. And it
Yeah,
takes
yeah.
a lot of space.
Yeah.
So that's why I will be replacing those.
Yeah.
And then
I
when
just saw
I
a
get
house
to
like
it,
that as
I
well.
actually, we're going to do an episode so I can show you
Yeah.
what it looks like. And then when it gets replaced, what it does. So how it
Okay,
looks like then.
good. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's pretty much the only thing that can really, you know, when you look at a furnace is the age. Also, furnace, like if you are a homeowner, like please, please, please change your filters every 3 months.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I have to put, you know, a little reminder on my calendar because it's just something that you don't think about, and you're like, oh, you know, whatever.
Yeah, you forget about it, and 3 months go by so quickly. So
yeah, exactly. So that's definitely, and get the better. I posted on, I think on my Instagram, a picture of a furnace that we were seeing, not because of the furnace, but because of the foundation around. You know how I like to post some pictures showing houses, and an HVAC guy messaged, or you know, wrote a comment. He said, those are the worst filters you could ever buy. Don't ever buy those.
Why?
So because they're not good, so I guess there are ones that are like the ones that have the waffle, like they're bent. Those are the good ones. The flat ones that have sort of like a mesh, those are the crappy ones. So I'm like, it's not my house, but okay, thank you. So I learned, so you know, I learned something. So even though and filters are cheap, they're, you know, whatever, $10.
It's better to get the higher end filters, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And make sure that it's 3 months, depending on the type of house. You know, if there is a lot of dust around, then it's worth it to make sure that you change it every 3 months.
Very good point. If you renovate, get your ducts cleaned after and your furnace cleaned, because that makes a huge difference. It really puts a lot of pressure on your furnace. So very good point. Thank you for saying that.
Okay. So number 3.
Number 3. Okay, number 3 is breaker box, the electrical panel.
Electrical panel.
So let me see if I can share. I got this great picture. Let me see if I can share my screen. So it's actually, I just got this, you know, all the pictures. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So this is a great little indication of what a breaker box is. So your main breaker is how many amps are coming into the house from the municipality, from the city that you're in. So typically it's 100 amp service. Right now to code is 200 amp service, because do you know why?
You need more electricity.
Because there is such a thing as electric vehicles now. So they want you to have that. If, you know, this is what's going to happen in the future. If we're all going to have electric cars, we need to plug them in somewhere. So they're doing this upgrade now. So every house that's being built currently will have 200 amp service, which is awesome. The other thing too, it's not really clear on this picture, but the individual circuits, what I always like to see when I'm going through a house with clients is that they're open circuits at the bottom, there's a couple spaces. I really like to see that, because let's say you do want to renovate and you want to put in a couple pot lights or a hot tub or something like that. It's always nice to have that. Also, you don't know if the circuits were done properly. Yeah. So the biggest complaint I can say is in kitchens, a lot of you know, people that renovate their house, they don't think, or the electrician doesn't think that, okay, you know, all of the small appliances are going to be plugged in the same area. So, you know, plug number 1 and plug number 2 right beside each other will have the coffee maker and the toaster oven and the microwave, and all of that will
blow up.
Right. Well, it won't blow up, but it'll trip the breaker.
It'll trip the breaker.
You know, yeah, it'll trip the breaker. So somebody will have to run downstairs and, you know, flip it, and then don't use the microwave at the same time. So it's just a bit of a pain. But, you know, that's what.
Well, normally now to code would be to have one circuit breaker directly for the microwave only, and another one for the small appliances. But you're right, I've seen it many times that you have one breaker just for the kitchen, and between the microwave and all of the small appliances, it will normally trip the breaker. So right now, for what I know, the microwave needs to be in its own breaker, and then the other appliances in another breaker.
Right, exactly. So,
but have you, question for you, have you run into a house that has fuses?
Oh my gosh, yes, of course. Yeah. And how about knob and tube? Who knows what knob and tube is? Ooh, that's all exciting. But and there are issues. I don't want to get into it because it's scary and I don't want to talk about it. But these are old houses, like, you know, 1900s, that they do have something called knob and tube. That's a long story, but it's very, very interesting if you're a history buff and want to know the history of a house and how, you know, with time, how things have progressed. So, you know, possibly when a house was built in the 1800s, there was no electricity, there was no plumbing. So,
and when you look at it, Colette, the requirements for electricity have gone up so much. How many more devices were using? All these small appliances. We didn't have microwave.
Electric toothbrushes. Yeah, everything. Our computers. How much are we generating? How much power are we using these days compared to even 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Everybody has a computer. Like both my kids have a computer. They both have phones. They all need to be plugged in. Just that alone. Of course, we're using a lot more electricity. Anyway, okay, so let's move on. So what are we on? Number 4.
Number 4.
Windows. Let's talk about some windows. So windows are in the top 5 because of the cost to replace them.
Yeah.
So let me see if I can share. It says my sharing has paused. I'm trying to resume my sharing. Okay, wait a minute. Let me see if I'm going to stop sharing, then I'll go
so
on.
while you're looking for a picture, there you go. Okay.
Yeah. So, sorry, what were you going to say?
So what I was going to say on the windows, sometimes the windows, they look good. Like you can tell that they're not broken or anything like that. They look fairly new. I had one in a previous house. And what happens is that there was a little condensation coming that you could see, right?
Yeah.
And
it happens.
What it does is that actually the seal that is in between those, they weren't the greatest windows. So the seal breaks quicker. And those windows, they have to be replaced a lot sooner than if you buy a little bit higher end windows. So you have to look at, it's just like a little fog. You will tell right away when you see them. But the rest of it looks almost like brand new. And
well, this is, so can you see the picture that I put up?
I can see the picture.
Okay, so I picked this picture because it's quite interesting. This is a very old window and it's a single pane, but it looks like it's sweating. Mm-hmm. This is actually not a problem with the window. It's a problem with the heavy curtain being in front of it, and then the condensation builds between the curtain and the window. Mm-hmm. And that is because the moisture in the house. So it might not actually be a window problem. But in this case, this is just a very, very old window. It's a single pane, and it's a sash window, which means it rises. It goes up and down. Mm-hmm. There are the crank windows now. There's lots of different styles. We're not going to go through that today. But what I really wanted to say about windows is I love windows. No, I'm not going to say that. The couple things that you want to look at for windows are, first of all, you want to make sure that they're smooth and they open. An old window like this, a sash window, most of the time in older houses, people paint them shut. It's terrible. So if this were my house, I would absolutely replace these windows, only because the energy efficiency is not there. I can tell you right now. That's probably why they put a heavier curtain, you know, to keep
so the air doesn't come in.
Right, but then something like this happens. And then if you can see at the bottom there, mold builds up. So you really don't want that happening. It's not the worst kind of mold, and you know, you can go daily or weekly and wipe it down, but you really just don't want that to happen in your house. Like then you should really think about the moisture in your house too. You might have a high level of moisture, and then that could be a different problem altogether, but we're not going to go there. Windows, we were talking about that a little earlier. Roughly you want to have about 30 years of, you know, you want to have 30 years life out of a window. I showed a house yesterday. There were 3 ages of windows in that house. So what people typically do, they replace the window when they can afford to. So there was original windows from when the house was built, which was I believe it was in the 80s. And some of them were still very much like this, wood, single pane, you know, for 1983, that's pretty not great. Anyway, so there were those. And then I would recommend, you know, if you're going to buy this house, this is something that you want to really change right away because of energy efficiency. And then there was two more upgrades at some point, but not all the windows. They only did a few, maybe one floor they changed, maybe one door, like a sliding door, or I think it was the front window, something like that.
And so this is also something that you may want to negotiate when you're purchasing the house, because if there's many windows to replace and they're older, you can get a discount, or you can say, well, I'm going to buy the house, but I'm going to discount the price of replacing the windows or all the windows. Depends,
right? I have to argue with you there.
Okay.
Yes, so I agree and I disagree. So yes, I agree on the point that when you're looking at comparables, the price absolutely should reflect these 5 things. A lot of the times we can't compare apples to apples because we don't know if the windows on the other house were replaced. We don't know if here I'm going to show you a nice little picture of very beautiful windows. So these are also sash windows that they push up. But something like this, so yeah, absolutely, it's a huge expense if you want to replace all of these windows. This is just in one room. Obviously the picture is of a very big house, but these are the things that you really want to make sure that when you're looking at the house. So first of all, visually inspect it. It's easy to do. You can look in the corners, you know, make sure the locks actually work and actually connect. You want to make sure that if it's one of these windows that they rise, that whatever the mechanism is, that it's a smooth mechanism and it actually closes. A lot of those swing windows with the cranks, the crank breaks. So these are things that even if you have an inspector, it doesn't hurt for you to walk around the house and open those windows and close them. And look at the inside of like when the window is open, look at the actual frame as well, not just the glass part. So these are things just visually you can inspect quite easily. And there's a little trick that I only share with my clients, so I can't tell you unless you work with me. And this is one of the tricks that all my clients are probably laughing right now. They're like, oh my gosh, yes, I remember. It's one of the first things we talk about with windows because they're such a big expense. Okay, so windows, done. So what do we get?
Number 5.
Number 5. So number 5, who can guess what that is? Let me see. I got to stop the share for a sec.
What can it be? What can it be? What can it be?
Starts with an F. Starts with an F.
The F word.
The F word. Yes. It's foundation. Foundation. So this is also something that is a huge expense that you really don't want to worry about when you buy a house, because again, it's that nasty water. You want the water to stay out. And when it's groundwater, can you see this nice man filling a foundation crack? This is one of the scariest things that I find my clients are worried about. So what he's doing, so this is quite a big foundation crack. There are two main types of foundation. This one is called the poured foundation, and there's another one called a block foundation, which most older has, actually that's not true. There are many builders that still use block foundation. There are many builders that use this type of foundation where you just pour it in between, a form, and it forms this nice foundation. In Canada, we have many different types of soil. I am not a foundation expert. I cannot tell you which one is better. Do you have a preference if you see a foundation?
Well, the most houses that I buy, they're older, so they will have the block foundation. But I have seen some of them that have this type of foundation, which is poured. So it depends, but it is not so much about what they decide to use, but also what is around it. I have seen some foundations that they get damaged a lot by a tree root.
Right, exactly.
It's because it's so close by, the tree has taken over, and the tree is starting to push the foundation. And it's such a force that it will start to crack. So you got to be careful. If you see trees very close to the house, you may want to take a look and see what's inside and how is it looking inside. Because sometimes you don't see it from the outside.
Exactly. So I'm going to share this other picture. So I'm sorry to show you scary pictures, but this is how a block foundation looks, and this is how a block foundation will crack. So it's very different how they repair them. So with the first picture, there was a guy, and he puts epoxy. It's sort of the same. They put something to get right in all the way through, and then they fill it with epoxy, which is a very good seal. And most of these companies will give you warranties. I don't even know how long, but let's just say it's a 10-year warranty that they do, give you a warranty. The interesting thing that I find about foundations and cracks is that they will, I'm just going to stop sharing because I don't like looking at it. It's so scary. When you look at foundations, you have to understand that houses move. We have in Canada, we have, even in Ontario, never mind the rest of Canada, we have shale, we have rock, we have sand, we have so many different, we have clay, lots of clay. So when you think of that kind of foundation and how, things move, just, you're digging a big hole in the ground and then you're putting something in it and then it's going to shift.
Yeah.
No matter what. And then if houses are being built around you, let's say it's a new neighborhood, and then there's, vibration because those other houses, and there's a street, and there's the road, the cars on the road vibrates the earth. There are earthquakes, things will happen. I mean, it's a normal thing. It's a natural thing that happens. And, we have to, as humans, be okay with it. So there's also houses that are linked or semi-detached. So if one side shifts,
the other one will continue with it.
It's going to affect you, right? Some stupid people actually take away very important beams, let's say on a second floor. It's not going to affect the foundation.
Yeah, never, ever take anything unless you talk to an architect or an engineer, because sometimes you don't know how it affects. Some of the stuff is fairly simple to figure out, but in some cases, it's not that easy. So it's better to check with somebody that.
Right. And if you feel like the house is crooked, it might not be the foundation. It might be something else, but we're not going to go there too. See, lots to talk about.
Absolutely.
But foundation is very, very key, because that is one of the biggest problems to fix later.
Yeah.
So and again, water. It's the water. We want to keep the water out.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and there's a lot of water in Canada too. And a lot of groundwater. It's not because you're living beside a lake, but it's the groundwater, and that's everywhere in the world. There is water underneath and whatever moisture, and we want to keep that from coming in the house.
That's
So,
correct.
and I know we're running over time, but I just wanted to say, like, these are things that when I go show houses, and I'm sure when you see houses
Yeah.
as well with your investors, this is something that we point out right away. And we have a general a general idea on how much that would cost to repair. I
Exactly.
know it's not fun and I know it's not scary, but
you know what? One of the things that I want to say is that all of the things that we have mentioned today, those 5 things have nothing to do with how the house looks, what are the finishes, but these are the most important things, because you may have a beautiful house with the hardwood floors,
yes, the
anything that you
nice
can.
paint.
But if you have bad foundation, that kind of removes everything.
Right.
So, and this is one of the things that I see also difference between the investors and people that are buying a home. They go by how it looks like. It's just
Yeah.
pretty, but they
this is
don't
the
look at
thing.
the main factors that actually will cost you in the long run to maintain
Right.
the
You and I
property.
know cosmetic, easy peasy. No sweat. It's
That's
easy to
right.
do. It's paint, it's cabinets,
Yeah.
it's, whatever staging. But the big 5, that's what we look at to say this is a good house.
Yeah.
We want to see that. Never mind the crappy trees in the backyard.
Yeah,
Or,
that could be fixed. All of that is cosmetic, and
easy,
that is
easy.
easy to fix. So
I'll come with my chainsaw and I'll cut it all down.
there you go. Okay, so what are the 5 again?
Okay, so we got roof,
Hmm?
foundation, furnace. The 2 F's is easy.
Yeah.
Windows
Windows.
and electrical. So you want that breaker box or the electric panel to really be upgraded.
To be there, yeah.
There's a number 6. There's a
Ooh,
little number
why
6.
are you adding stuff? Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, what is it?
Because I'll tell you why. It's really hard to see it. It's really hard to know if you have good plumbing or not. But the plumbing is a big issue if there are problems. Most houses, there are no problems. Problems arise when people go nuts and start adding their own plumbing, like, willy-nilly, and not get a proper plumber and not get a, proper, understanding of gravity and how gravity works with drains specifically. Yeah. That's a story in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so plumbing is something that you really want to make sure that you have good water pressure. You want to make sure, you want to sort of have an idea on hard water in the area. Also something that Ontario is famous for. We have very nice hard water, but nothing we can do. But you can get a water softener, which is okay. Yeah. But again, in different areas, it's not so bad. But anyway, so plumbing is a number 6, but it's very hard. It's a really hard thing to really see.
Yeah, that you can't really tell.
Yeah.
Everything else, there will be some visual that you could do that you can just basically see, well, this doesn't look right.
Yeah.
With windows, with roofs, all of that you can tell there is some tell sign. With the plumbing, unless you're starting to use it, then you will know that there's something wrong. So that's what we say, the 5, the big 5.
Big 5.
Is the easiest to, with the trained eye, like you gotta see a couple times.
And you know
what you're looking
plumbing,
for, right?
Plumbing, in essence, it's easy to swap out a toilet. It's easy to swap out, your sink,
But if you're going to be trying to remove a wall to fix the plumbing, that is a different story.
Exactly. Yeah, so you do want a trained eye to come in, and that's what I really like about unfinished basements too. You can look up and see where the plumbing, how the plumbing runs are, where things are. You can see with bulkheads where things are tying into what. And obviously, again, water is the problem, right?
Yep.
You want it to stay where it's supposed to be.
Exactly.
Not in the house.
Okay, so with that, you have a very good understanding of what to look for in a house. If you're not going with Colette, that she knows what to look for, then whoever realtor you are going with, make sure that they look at all of these things and ask questions.
Absolutely.
If you're not sure what it is, if you see that it's something funny that doesn't look right to you, ask a question.
Yeah, and if they, the answer too is I don't know everything about, all of these things, but I have a very good understanding, I think, of how a house functions. So what you need to have to make it a good house. Like, this is really the ultimate thing. I want to protect my clients. I want to protect my investors to say, look, this is all cosmetic, let's say, in an example, of a fixer-upper, but the bones are good. But still get an inspector, and then we can talk about how, that's when I get excited. I know that's what gets you excited, to see these fixer-uppers, to say,
oh gosh,
there's so much potential here. I love it, but let's see if the bones are good.
Yeah, that's the very first thing. Without the bones, you can't do anything, no matter how pretty the house looks.
Exactly. Or you just have to have very deep pockets.
Well, most people don't have that. So.
Well, yeah. Or you're getting value. Like, we just want you to get value out of any property that you're getting. Yeah. So absolutely, I agree with you 100%. Cosmetic, anybody can paint, anybody can stage. It's not a big deal. Don't get all,
yeah. Oh, I don't like this color. It's not important. That is very simple, a very simple fix.
Right.
But
it's not sexy.
Yeah.
But hey.
Next time I'm going to show you some pictures that I've seen. Oh my God. Carpet in the kitchen. Green kitchen or a purple kitchen. Oh my God.
I know, but yeah. Oh my gosh. Ugh. We like that. We should do a show just on that. So
it's going to be one to show you some of the things that we've seen that they're funny, but they're not so funny. But it's interesting to see.
Exactly. They're funny, but
not so funny.
Exactly.
Okay, so with that is all we have for this week. And I hope that you find that useful in your next house purchase.
Yay. Thanks, Araceli. This was fun.
Thank you, Colette, for sharing all of that. Okay. We'll see you next week.
My pleasure. Okay. See ya. Bye, everybody.